You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
right, folks. Well, guess what? It is time for the Jenn and Rick Show right here on KLNRradio.com. I'm Rick. She's Jen, and she's with me right now. Good evening, ma'am. How are you? I think she's with me right now. Did I lose you? Oh, there you are. Yay, I was like, I can see you. You haven't gone away.
I don't know what that was, but anyways, I'm here. I'm good. Not too much going on right now for me, so just same old election news, crazy world we're living in. Liberals are nuts, you know.
Yeah, it used to be so easy to say liberals weren't nuts, but it just kind of seems like everybody's nuts now. I mean,
I pretend like that's not true, but it is.
I mean, you know, I'd like to go back to the good old days when it was us conservative GOPers bashing on all the liberals like, y'all are nuts. And now I look at the GOP going, were they always this nuts too, and I never noticed, or has something drastically changed?
Certainly, this election has brought, you know, a certain amount of crazies out of the woodwork that I do not think were given a voice before, so...
I just, a certain amount of crazies. I think the woodwork has exploded. I don't necessarily think there's any woodwork left. I think they came out so hard it looks like the old Kool-Aid commercial where the pitcher's running through the wall. It's craziness. I mean, that's just like, I've seen people, and you know this because it happened with somebody that we hang out with in one of the groups, who was making a comment about the rise in stories of men and boys that have been doing things that they shouldn't be doing now that a lot of states are allowing people that supposedly identify with certain genders to use specific bathrooms, even if it doesn't necessarily match the plumbing. This person was called out by liberals, called out by supposed conservatives, called out by Republicans, and was basically, one of them even accused him of the only reason he was upset was because he wanted to be the one to perv out on his own daughter. This is what we've become in America.
Well, I was talking with some other friends, and you know, some of what has happened here, whether it's with the bathroom issue or whether it's a officer involved shooting, or the Skittles analogy, or whatever is going on, there is this group of kind of holier than thou group of conservatives that are coming out, and they're kind of, how do I say this? They're kind of positioning themselves, or they want to be positioning themselves as like making the new rules and being the gatekeepers for what is and isn't, you know, right with conservatism. And it kind of comes out of this Trump thing, but it ends up being just like a little bit too snobby, a little bit too elitist. And they tend to almost kind of pat themselves on the back and it kind of seems like they're like waving and jumping up and down to the liberals. Like, look at me. Like, I'm a good conservative. I'm not one of those crazy ones. I'm not a nut job. I'm not a Trump humper. I'm a good conservative. And I think this is bad too. So look at me. I'm smart. I'm good. Get it. Like me. And there's been a huge wave of that recently. And I know a lot of it has to do with wanting to very explicitly separate themselves from the kind of bigoted rhetoric of some of the more intense Trump fans online. And I get that. But it's also kind of come to this point where, like you said, like with our friend, he's getting scolded for what used to be a pretty mainstream, even just not too long ago was a pretty mainstream Republican.
Yeah, like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it was like a mainstream conservative view, and now it's shifted in this way. And I mean, that's just one more thing that I think kind of is the fault of Trump. But obviously Trump's not, it comes from all these other places, and he's just kind of brought it out and brought it to the forefront. And it's just so frustrating. And I see these people going at each other that I like both of them, and I think they're both smart, and it's just happening more and more regularly where I'm going, and I'm just cringing, and I don't want to get in the middle of it. But people are kind of virtue signaling a lot more on the right, and just eager to disassociate with, from the the really crazy Trump fans. And I just think in a lot of ways they're going about it all wrong. And it's not going to bring anybody over to our side, and it's not going to change any hearts or minds. It's going to make people feel condescended, and honestly, it's rather dishonest, a lot of it. So I don't know. It's been a weird. It's just one more thing about this election that's been really weird to watch and see happen, and makes me go, ugh. Can we redo 2016, please?
I'm still frantically looking for the reset button or the keys to Doc Brown's DeLorean. I'll take either one. Because at this point, I'm just like, please, somebody go back in time and give Trump's parents a condom. Please.
Ew, I just don't want to think about any of that.
Sorry, but I can't help myself.
I just think of Trump as like as a baby, he just still had the same face and head and hair, just shrunken on a baby body. Well, that's what I think of.
You've seen pictures of Trump as a baby. Where do you think they got the idea for treasure trolls from?
Oh gosh.
I'm surprised he didn't sue them for stealing his baby picture likeness. He sues everybody for everything else. Speaking of which, did you actually hear? I actually saw an article just today that just made it literally. And it's been a while since I've been to this point, but it literally almost made blood start shooting out of my eyes again. I saw this story from 2010 where Donald Trump was putting on a charity event at one of his golf courses, and there was a particular rule where on a certain hole, if you got a hole in one, your charity won $1 million. Well, so there was this rule in there, though, that in order to qualify, you had to have made the shot from at least 150 yards away. So apparently, because it was, I guess, only on this specific hole, which was the 13th hole, they made sure that from the tee to the green was just under 150 yards. So when somebody actually sunk it, they refused to give them the $1 million. He actually lost a lawsuit, settled the lawsuit, but he used funds from his own charity to settle the lawsuit. This guy is such a sleaze. I swear to God, how did we get here? We have two of the most crooked, lying people ever put on this planet, both vying to have the top job in this country, and we're just going along to get along, saying, well, it's got to be one of them. One of them's going to have to win, because that's just the way it works. So we can just vote for whichever one makes our skin crawl just a little bit less? No, thank you. Ew.
Well, and that's the problem with so much of this. Like, if you can hit him because of this thing, or he took money from a charity in order to pay off this law, whatever, and then it's like, and you go, and if she comments on it, if Clinton comments on it, then you're like, well, okay, but also like the Clinton Foundation was on a watch list by people who, oversee and kind of watch groups that look at different charities and say, maybe this isn't so legit, or it's more of a slush fund type situation and less of a true charity. And it only got taken off because they were immensely, politically pressured and were threatened. So, she can't really say anything, but he can't say anything because so it's this back and forth constantly of some bad news comes out about one of them, or some, of course we've all known, but now here's proof that this was going on or that happened. And then the other one tries to hit him because of it, and they have no leg to stand on because there's something in the same vein that you can hit them right back with. So it's just kind of really crazy that there's just such lack of like ethics and principles among both of these candidates. There's so much corruption. There's so many underhanded deals, and there's so much we don't even know. I mean, this is just the small part that we know. So I think that's part of the craziest thing.
No, I mean, completely. There are so many. This is one of the points I've been trying to make about both sides now for months. Every little thing that you see that gets a little bit of light cast on it, there's a million others that you don't know anything about. And both of these families are so corrupt, it's beyond stupid. I mean, I keep getting into an argument with someone who actually does a radio show, and his name escapes me for the moment, and I'm not going to take a second to go look it back up. But we were kind of having a little bit of a back and forth for the last several weeks over the whole Trump and Clinton thing, and he made a comment the other day about how bad is it that someone that was running for president can't keep their word and wouldn't honor the pledge? And I'm like, oh my God, please don't tell me you are talking about Cruz again, because Trump broke that pledge before anybody else ever did. And he's like, well, that's different. Trump was using rhetoric. He didn't actually break the pledge because he didn't have to. I said, no, but you know as well as I do, if he'd actually if he wouldn't have been the one to win the nomination, he wouldn't have supported whoever the nominee was either, because he already told everybody that. And then, not to mention that, if Trump had said the things that about my family that he'd said about Cruz's, the next time I saw him on a debate stage, we wouldn't have been having a conversation. I would have been in handcuffs. And then he's like, well, if people can't stand the bloodbath that is now today's political system, maybe they shouldn't run for political office. And
that's what's so ridiculous, though, is because they're so angry. They get so angry if the slightest misrepresentation is given about Trump, or if, in fact, there is a lie, which there have been lies put out about Trump and have been perpetuated by the mainstream media and by Hillary Clinton or someone on the Democratic side. They get so incensed and they get so irate and they're like, this is why. But if he lies, it's, oh, well, that's business, or, oh, well, that's how the game's played, or, oh, well, he's just trying to blah, blah. I mean, there's always an excuse. And this is where, this gets to be a very liberal-like thing, because that's how they have always been. Their little group think, and they circle the wagons, and they make sure that no one steps a toe out of line. And if they do, they bring them back in and they cover it up. And that's what this has brought to. That's kind of what Trump has brought to the GOP, way more so than we've ever seen it on the right.
No, and that's exactly true. That's exactly what's happened. The GOP. I'm not even going to call them the right anymore, because at this point there is no right, there is no left. They're all just there together, commingled. I'm not even sure there's going to ever be a right or a left ever again, because there are too many groups that are fractured off and are trying to form new parties and have new ideas, and there's too much infighting even going on among those. And I'm involved in one of those, and I'm starting to see the same thing play out there, where it's all or nothing. It's, well, this has to be a part of it, this has to be a part of it, or it's not worth it. And it's just amazing to me that we have become so fragmented and so polarized that we can't even get along with each other anymore. I see conservatives, and I'm not talking about Trump supporters versus non-Trump supporters, actual conservatives that are still going toe-to-toe, tooth and nail over every little thing. And look, I get it. Life would be really boring if you agreed with everybody that you hung around with 100% of the time. But the fact that we're willing to go to knives and guns with people that are basically on the same page with us 99.9% of the time disturbs me, because it just proves that this idea of this groupthink has permeated everything more than we ever even thought possible. To see it playing out now as well as it is to the GOP just proves to me that we have been programmed now thoroughly. I mean, literally, our elections have become Pavlovian responses. Whichever one you agree with is the one that you have to vote for. And I've seen people that literally almost look like their head's going to explode if they have a different thought other than, well, I'm going to vote for Trump and this is why, or I'm going to vote for Hillary and this is why. We're playing the exact game they want us to play, and all they keep doing is dividing us more and more. And even when some of us are trying to rally around the thought that we can't stand either one of these candidates and there has to be another option, we start tearing each other apart on the inside again. I don't understand how we're ever going to come together as a nation when we can no longer set minute differences aside. I don't understand how that's going to work.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And, hopefully we'll look back on this and go, man, remember when it seemed like we were in dire straits and there was just there was a point of no return, and hopefully we'll go, oh, thank goodness we got through that and past that, and now this is stronger and that's better. But it just seems so bleak right now. It's just, to be honest, it doesn't seem likely.
Well, unfortunately, you know what the more likely outcome of that's going to be? Hey, do you remember when we were doing this show from our living rooms, not from a cell block?
Yeah, that's funny. It's not good. Let's not do that.
It would be funny if it wasn't probably about to be true. I mean, let's face it, under either one of these idiots, free speech is done. It's just done. I'm still frantically trying to find a way to carve out a niche before they kill it, so maybe, just maybe, I can hang around for a while longer. Because neither one of them support free speech. It's just insane.
Yeah, and I'm just afraid that no matter who's in, we're going to get a further push for a fairness doctrine of some sort, and that's just going to pervade everything.
I mean, I'm not even necessarily sure we're going to need a fairness doctrine anymore. We're about to turn control of the internet over to a international group. I mean, that's like ultimate fairness doctrine. That's craziness.
Yeah, all of that is just kind of frightening to me. And I think, we're letting this get away, and it's, there's just going to be such little room for any kind of, legit retaliation once they get hold of it.
Oh, sorry, I was actually getting a little distracted. For some reason, I finally see what Jess was trying to talk to me about. Our downloads have literally exploded. Like, our live plays are still about where they were, but we've got some episodes that have all of a sudden pegged out at like 15,000 downloads. 20.
Weird.
I'm like, holy crap. So, anyway, sorry, folks. Didn't mean to get distracted, but I was looking over some stuff and I couldn't believe what I was saying. Because, we've apparently kind of, over the last couple of weeks, kind of finally made it onto the map, I guess. Because some of our numbers are crazy. The live numbers are still kind of where I would expect them to be because, I'm not going to lie, I don't have time to promote like I wish I did. And half the time, I don't even know what we're going to talk about till 10 minutes before the show, so it makes it really hard to promote it. But the number of people that are apparently listening offline has grown exponentially, so woohoo! Thanks, guys. Okay, so sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted there. Hey, let's go ahead and I guess take the break here really quick because we're already getting pretty close to the top of the hour and then our bottom of the hour, and when we come back, we can actually change over to a couple of the stories because I saw one that you had linked that I'd already talked about a little bit yesterday. So it should be fun. This is the Jenn and Rick Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages. Please do not go away.
Back now, I wouldn't if I could, 'cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. We took the break just a few minutes early, so we're just now hitting the bottom of the hour, but that's all right because that gives us more time to hang out on the backside. All right, so let's dig into the topics of the day. I think we'll actually probably start with one of the ones that I saw you had linked. I had touched on this one a little bit during the show that I did this afternoon or this morning, and that is the fact that apparently, somehow, there were about 800 some odd people that were supposed to get deported, and instead they got citizenship.
Right. And so this isn't some like wacky, our sources say, or we know because blah, blah, blah. I mean, this was released by the Department of Homeland Security Inspector General's office on Monday. 858 people from special interest countries, which special interest country means that they're considered a threat to our nation. They're a threat to the United States of America. Those countries are designated as such. These people are from there, and they were supposed to be deported. They were given citizenship. To make it worse, Jay Caruso over at Red State had a piece today that it's actually much worse than that. It's more about 1,811. The 858 are just the most recent ones. There were 953 last November that something like this happened. And these are just the ones that we have the releases on. So that's 1,811 people granted citizenship that not only shouldn't have been, but should have been deported instead. This is huge. And all they did was change names and birthdays. That was all they needed, enough to sidestep deportation, because the Homeland Security still doesn't have like the fingerprint records to match against the digitized records of it. So basically, people can just make crap up and get out of being deported. This is insane. And now these 1,800 people that were given legal status, you can't just revoke it, and they can't just deport them. They have to go through the courts now. They have to prove that actual fraud was committed. The government has to prove that fraud was committed on by the person who is now a citizen that was supposed to be deported before they can strip the citizenship and deport them. You know how much money that's going to cost, and time and effort? It's just not going to happen. So here they are. they're allowed. They're supposed to be deported, and they'll be here. They'll be citizens, and they'll vote for president. How about that?
So, I mean, let that sink in for a second. We just had over, what was the number you used? About 1,000 people that were supposed to be deported that have now been...
Almost 2,000.
So...
yeah, about 1,000 in November of last year, and then another 900 this year. So it's like 1,800 total.
So, yeah, we're sitting on 1,800, 2,000 people that were supposed to be deported, but now they have all the rights and guarantees of citizenship, including voting. I smell a rat.
I mean, this is absurd. Well, and I think what some of the people that have written on this have gone, what they're trying to point out is that in a lot of ways our systems are so lagging and they're crippled. They can't really handle these, the numbers of people that they're needing to process and then be able to also deport. Because they don't have the systems are lagging, because they don't have the technology, because things aren't coordinated, because everything's not digitized, because they don't have the fingerprints, uploaded or sorted through or whatever else. So they've got all these things on file, but there's no place to put them and they can't really use them. So it's just, it's just one more example of utter government incompetency and failure.
And the scary thing is they talk about how we don't really have the technology. The truth is we do. They just don't want...
Yeah, it's not that we don't. It's that it's not being utilized and it's not being given to these certain departments that are doing this stuff.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There's a reason why these people are overworked, underpaid, and have no access to technology. There are people inside the government that don't want this problem solved. Because, look, we could solve it without the Trump wall. We could solve it really simply. The first thing we could do is make sure that if you're not a citizen of this country, you don't have access to certain things that only citizens should be allowed to have. Look, the Constitution is a great document, but it only applies to American citizens. That's the whole point of us being a sovereign nation. We have declared ourselves a free, independent, sovereign nation from Great Britain. We did that hundreds of years ago, and somehow we've lost ourselves along the way. And I'm not saying that we should become America first and America only, but I'm saying that there are ways to solve these problems without building this wall that nobody's going to pay for in the first place, because even Trump seems ambiguous as to who's actually going to pay for it, or if there's going to be a wall in the first place. But it's apparent that one of the reasons why he's done so well in this election cycle is because he found a very deep-seated fear within the American people, and that is the fact that they know exactly how broken our immigration system is, and now the news is even starting to come out that it's even more broke than any of us possibly thought that it even could be. When you're talking about nearly 2,000 people that were supposed to be removed from the country that were accidentally granted citizenship, I mean, come on.
Yeah. It is so infuriating to stand here and just when I kind of feel like, oh God, the GOP is just so terrible. The conservative movement is dead. All of this stuff. This is the reason why we have to do something. These kinds of things, it reminds me why we have to rebuild. We have to push forward. We have to keep on with our message that we've had, regardless of whether it's with the GOP. We can count on Trump, obviously, or if it's a new movement, if it's a new party. I don't know what it's going to be, but the message has to maintain. It just has to, because we can't allow for our country to slip away because of horrific, you can call them mistakes. I say it's a conscionable oversight like this happening on a daily basis that's allowing, our country to be put in jeopardy.
No, I completely agree. I really don't understand how we could get to the point where we have a government that is so what's the right word I'm looking for here? So basically just overblown and bloated that so many things fall through the cracks now. I mean, this is case in point. This is proof that our government has gotten too big because they can't even fulfill their basic functions anymore because they're too busy worried about keeping up with the flavor of everybody else's Kool-Aid. They can't do what they're designed to do anymore because they're too busy trying to make sure they have their fingers in everybody else's pie. And it's insane to me that we keep coming back to this point where we now have two parties that are talking about doing everything they can to continue to grow and fund government. There used to be a party whose stance was, we want limited government with fiscal conservative values, and we will talk about the social stuff as we go. Never once have we told you that these things were okay, but we understand, a lot of us do, that not everybody feels the same way that we do, but can we please focus on the fact that right now the roof is on fire and you guys are playing with your Skittles and your M&Ms complaining that those are racist candies.
It's so true, though. I mean, it's just out of control at this point.
It's insane. I mean, that's like, look, I don't like Eric Trump. I've never really agreed with much of anything that's come out of his mouth. I hold him in about the same regard that I hold his father. But the fact that the news went nuts over the fact that he said that, the refugees are like poison Skittles. You never know which one you're going to get till you take a bite. I've seen the same people say things about M&Ms. Nobody got upset and said the M&Ms were racist. I mean, is it because rainbow is supposed to be like this gay pride thing now? Is that what makes it racist? Because I'm confused.
No, it makes it racist because of Trayvon having Skittles when he was shot by Zimmerman.
Oh, is that what it was? Did I miss a memo somewhere?
That's one of the things I saw. It was of course, because Skittles are iconic and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what? I'm trying to follow. I'm really trying to follow. I went through this person's TL. It was a liberal journalist. I can't even remember who it was. And I'm going, okay, let me fall down this rabbit hole and try to get into the mind of a sick, like twisted, crazy, manipulative liberal, see how they're making this racist. And it came down to Trayvon carrying the bag of Skittles.
So in other words, it's all Trayvon's fault.
Oh, see, we could just turn it. Yeah,
because if he had never carried the Skittles, no one would think Skittles were racist now.
And I couldn't believe how many people were like cheering them on. They were like, totally, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, going, what? Are we serious? Like, you can't use Skittles anymore because that somehow represents racism because a black kid was shot by a Hispanic, not a white Hispanic, that's so dumb, by a Hispanic man and was acquitted by the courts. Somehow that Skittles just completely embodies racism and is, like a signifier for Trayvon. That's ridiculous. It's so absurd. But the stretching that they do, I mean, they're just always stretching and reaching as far as they possibly can to find some way to make things racist, sexist, bigoted in some way. And that's,
You forgot homophobic.
Well, right. That's why I said bigoted, because I'm like, I could keep on going. So we're just going to encompass it all. But
I'm just giving you a hard time. So, did you hear about the guy with the tweet that was like, I guess it's a good thing that this guy in New Jersey and New York decided to use explosives and not guns because there'd be a lot more dead.
Chris Hayes.
Yeah, that guy. That guy.
Yeah, Chris Hayes with MSNBC. Docker. Basically, we're lucky that he used, that he used explosives and not guns. Very, very lucky is what he said.
As someone who's actually had an explosive device go off on my soil, that guy can kiss my ass.
Yeah, I couldn't even believe, and he's, he's funny. I mean, he's obviously like a knee-jerk reaction type kind of pundit and commentator, but he is known to have decent interactions with people, especially of opposing views on Twitter about things. And I've watched some big accounts get into it with him about some stuff, and he's respectful. He doesn't name call, he's not like, you idiot, like some of these others are. And sometimes and if he doesn't know something, he'll go, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, well, I'll have to reconsider. Or, oh, I'm not well-versed in this, or that. And they'll go, okay, well, then don't speak on it. And he'll be like, okay. He can be fairly congenial when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I did find it a little bit interesting that he did that. And then when he was getting hit, he kind of doubled down. A lot of times he'll kind of backtrack and apologize or even delete a tweet. And he got a heck of a lot of backlash for, as well he should. A heck of a lot of backlash for that. It was it was just an asinine thing to say.
I mean, it was completely heartless, and it just it reminds me of, again, just how segmented and compartmentalized everybody is anymore, because we couldn't even really take 5 minutes to mourn the people that we lost during these attacks, because as soon as they could, anybody that was of the gun sense persuasion or pretty much any other persuasion were out trying to make their views known as to how we could have avoided this, or it's our fault because we were mean to these people, or or we're lucky that they didn't use guns instead of bombs.
Or just simply downplaying it at all. I mean, I also just saw a lot of that was like, oh, whatever, guys. It was just like a trash can bomb, and like nobody died, and da-da-da, things like that I was like, okay. So just because an attack was less successful than intended means that we should be like, meh, no big deal. I mean, if we are able to, uncover a plan and thwart the next 9/11 before it happens because it didn't happen or because it didn't go off fully, does that mean we should be like, it wasn't a big deal? There was still targets. There was still negative. There was still a motivation. There was still an evil that was present, that was working in order to actually hurt and kill American citizens. That should never be taken lightly. And I think it's so insensitive, and I think it's very irresponsible to do so.
No, it's beyond irresponsible. I mean, this guy is supposed to be, I'm not sure if he calls himself a journalist, but he's still a public figure. And to say things like that, I mean, look, 6 months from now, 8 months from now, whatever. But the day after? Really?
Yeah, that's the thing. And I do think that he's not the only one to make some really dumb statements after this. I think that a lot of them would be singing a much different tune if, let's say, one had been very successful and the other had been, kind of like the race one was, where it blew up a trash can and no one was around, thank goodness, and nobody was maimed or killed. And say the other one that was in the apartment building had done, or near the building in Chelsea, had a more maximum effect and had killed 28 people instead of injuring them. What would they be saying? Would they be comparing that to guns? Would they? Because I don't think they would. Would they be downplaying it? I don't think that they would. So just because the plan didn't go off, as well as it was intended to, and it wasn't successful, this is still a major issue with a multi-area coordinated attack. We don't really know how many people were involved. We know they took 5 in custody, and they got the actual quote-unquote bomber yesterday alive, which is amazing. But we don't really know yet if there was more planned, what's going on. And I'm telling you, when you've got the National Guard and you've got armed, any kind of militaristic presence in the subways and on the transit systems of a city like New York City, especially New York City, because they already have such a great counterterrorism unit, and the NYPD is just above and beyond. It's such a great police force. It's such a great department. When you have that kind of presence, it's real. There's serious business going down, and they've got some intel or something about possible other incidences. It's really unsettling to see. I've been there when I've seen it, and it's like, whoa, what? And everybody starts avoiding. They're like, okay, something big's happening. You see the black suits running around. It's just so frustrating the way that people reacted and try, and not just, and like we were talking about at the beginning of the show, not just liberals, but conservatives too, being like, okay, let's not call it terror, scolding people that are calling it terrorism already. And my favorite was John had a tweet that said something to the effect of, jumping to the conclusion that it's not terrorism is still jumping to conclusions. So, basically saying, how about everybody just shut up?
Well, I mean, that's just like the stabbing in Minnesota, that they were like, there's no correlation with this possibly more than likely being anything to do with a terror attack. Never mind the fact that the dude yelled out "Aloha granola bar" before he started stabbing all these people and was like, "Hey, are you Muslim? No, good, die." But no, it's not a terror attack at all. And the fact that so many people are willing to jump to conclusions in the wrong direction just astounds me. I mean, because look, yes, these attacks weren't as bad as they could have been, but that's only because in this case, Jihadi John had Barney Fife syndrome. He couldn't figure out how to make the bombs work right. He didn't have the timing set right. He didn't take into account the fact that the race was going to be delayed. If that race hadn't been delayed, there would have been hundreds of people around that first bomb that went off. Luckily, the rest that were daisy-chained together to it somehow didn't ever manage to fire off in the first place, or it still could have been worse than it was. The simple fact of the matter is the fact that we keep having to even have this conversation.
The people don't try to steal the bag that the pressure cooker's in. I mean, there's all sorts of interventions that happened along the way that were unintentional that kept this from being more tragic than it is.
Yeah. I mean, somebody saw this nice suitcase sitting on the side of the road. It was like, hey, wonder who left this here. Hey, let's see if there's anything in there. Oh, we don't want that, but let's take the bag. And because of that, the cell phone detonator apparently was worked loose, so it didn't ever explode properly. So this was all a bunch of what a lot of folks would call coincidence. I personally don't think it was. I think it was providence. I think there were a lot of things in play and a lot of things that were in place to keep people as safe as possible, and I don't think it was anything to do with human nature as much as it was divine nature. I do believe that there are times when divinity intervenes. I happen to think this was probably one of those times, because this could have been a much worse situation, and it had every possibility of being a much worse situation if not for this perfect storm of confluence, I don't believe in coincidence. So to me, it's just screaming that somebody was watching, even though apparently our government wasn't.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. I just think that there were too many things that happened that did not allow for this to go as planned, that did not allow this to be a successful, multifaceted terrorist attack. And I just don't know how you can just explain that all away as coincidence. So I think someone else was watching, and I'm certainly glad they were.
Yes, me too. Sorry, I'm kind of running out of steam. I'm honestly not feeling that well tonight.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. It's just one of those things where I've kind of been burning the candle at about 14 different ends instead of 2, and it's just starting to catch up to me this week, I think.
Busy.
I know, right?
You really have. Oh, my gosh. Well, you want to make fun of Clinton real quick?
Sure. I'm always down for making fun of Clinton. Which one, him or her, or both?
Both.
Sweet, we get a twofer. What's up?
So, in the last Bill Clinton. First of all, neither one of them. I mean, don't they just both look terrible? They just look awful. Like, are they not sleeping? Are they on drugs? What is going on? They both look terrible.
Syphilis will do that to you.
Oh, you saw her. Did you see her press conference the other night after the bombings that aren't bombings on the plane, where she looks half asleep, but it's like 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah, can you imagine her at the 3 a.m. phone call?
Oh my gosh, and her head's like bobbing and her eyes are half closed. It was so bizarre to me. I'm going, this is not a good picture from just coming off this week of the Hillary health stuff and everything. This is just not what you want to be putting forward, but okay. But Bill Clinton says that, basically, yeah, of course they did favors. Of course that there is some foundation donors were probably influenced the State Department. I mean, he said it. He actually said it. Like, probably that happened. I mean, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Which would mean while his wife was Secretary of State, So therefore, just proving some of the corruption and pay for play that she likes to say, things to Donald about, which I think, again, this is like we talked about earlier in the show. They're both guilty. I mean, you can't, one of them can't say it without the other one being able to turn around and point that finger right back. So it just feels really useless for either one of them to do so.
Of course she knows that Donald Trump is guilty of pay per play. How much money is he giving her?
Did he pay for her? Right, exactly. No, and that's what she highlights out all the time. She's like, oh, and he blah, 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 blah. But it's like, wait a second. But he's over here saying, and I did it to you. Like, I gave you money so that I could, whatever. So they both have intimate knowledge of this situation, and they've done it actually in cahoots with each other. They've utilized pay for play. So it's so silly, and it just seems so superficial to watch either one of them try to call that out. It's just absolutely so ridiculous. You can't even take it seriously. But Bill Clinton really slipped up, and they've kind of been, pulling in the reins on him here because of saying that now he's saying we disclose everything, we're completely transparent. And he did say that it would be impossible for them to run the Clinton Global Initiative as is if Hillary is elected. Therefore contradicting himself when saying it was totally fine for her to do it when she was Secretary of State. Somehow the office of the presidency and not the office that handles foreign policy is somehow different when it comes to this kind of thing. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me, but okay. The Democrats will just lap that up. But, so that's pretty much the foot in the mouth of Bill Clinton. And this is all while he's been trying to help her on the campaign trail, while she's not trying to take it a little bit easy because of her pneumonia and all of her whatever else health-wise she's got going on that they're not letting us know. But that's not going to help her out too much. It's just going to raise more speculation, which the media won't cover. And so we only have sources like Town Hall and Red State and places like that will actually ever cover anything of this nature.
It's funny watching Bill Clinton run around and basically for the 2016 election cycle, he's playing the role of Joe Biden. Just running around seeing how many different places he can stick his foot in his mouth all in one day. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, for him to just come out and say, well, yeah, of course, sure, those kind of things happen in politics. And you're just looking at him going, did you really just say that out loud? Is whatever disease that's eating your brain from the fact that you've probably had sex with more people listed than are listed on the McDonald's sign finally kind of rotting your brain enough to where you don't have a filter anymore? Because, yeah.
Look at this, okay? He kind of went after Black Lives Matter several months back. Remember that? And he was kind of having a thing with some of BLM. He falls asleep at the DNC, at the national convention.
Was it before or after the pudding? Was it before or after they fed him his pudding? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't know. And then now he's over here going, oh, well, of course, donors, they're going to get favors in the State Department. I mean, they really just should set him up in his chair, give him the remote control, and keep him out of sight, I guess. I don't know what is going on, but it's not good for her.
Prop him up in the chair, give him the remote, put some tapioca in front of him. That way, at least he's putting something else in his mouth besides his foot.
I hate tapioca.
But come on, all old people love tapioca.
I know they do. And there's so many people in my family that like it. And so sometimes at family gatherings, they're like, oh, did Grandma make tapioca? And I'm like, it's just a bowl of snot. It looks like a bowl of snot. I can't do it. It's gross. But I'm a texture and person. Ew.
All right.
Well, everybody really needed to know that. I don't like tapioca pudding, and I don't like oatmeal raisin cookies. There you go.
Wait, you don't like oatmeal raisin cookies?
Oh, raisins don't belong in cookies. If you're going to have a cookie, man up and have a real one.
So, I think I may need a new co-host on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This lack of liking oatmeal raisin cookies, yeah, we may have an issue there. No, I'm only kind of kidding. It's not even. It's like my least favorite of my cookies that I will
funny.
eat.
It's like a constant point of contention. Like whenever we're trying to get out of the mode of all of the awful election stuff, and someone will do like the cargo shorts or not, or like flip flops or not. It's like oatmeal raisin cookies or chocolate chip cookies, and then everybody starts going to war with each other over it, and it's really a lot of fun. But
well, yeah, I mean, if we're talking. If we're talking between oatmeal raisin and chocolate chip hands down. But I will eat I will eat an oatmeal raisin cookie in a pinch. But let's face it, I'm a fat guy. Believe it or not, we are already about out of time. Why don't you remind folks where it is that they can interact with you when you're not on the air with me?
Sure. Come find me on Twitter at jhomestead, JR Homestead on Facebook, and misfitpolitics.weebly.com.
All right, and I, of course, am AOTR_ on host. You can find me there most of the time, which is on the Twitters. You can shoot my daily show, like on Facebook at America's Coming Off the Rails. You can also shoot a friend's request to my professional Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Rowdy Ricky Robinson. Or you can check out my articles. We already have stuff posted on American Action News, have stuff coming soon to Red Alert News, and also coming soon to Red Dirt Report. And, of course, I'm on every Monday through Friday on 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern on America Off the Rails, and then, of course, Tuesdays and Thursdays, this time slot right here for Jenn and Rick, and then Fridays at 11 p.m. Eastern, we do Robinson and Wright with a newcomer to KLRN, Mr. Dan. And some of you may know him from a show that he does on Wednesdays with Jason over on Blog Talk Radio. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell, and it's another reason why I seem a little more discombobulated than usual. I'm tracking down stories for the new gigs I just landed earlier this week. So I will be back with you guys. We're probably not going to do a live show tomorrow because at this point I'm going to have to go inspect mileage for hosts for a while, but we're going to put together a best of. It'll be up tomorrow during its regular time, and I will be back with you live on Thursday and Friday, and back with you on Thursday morning as well on America Off the Rails. You guys have a great night. God bless. Want to thank Jen for sitting in with me again tonight. It's always fun having you with me, and I really, really enjoy Tuesdays and Thursdays.
I enjoy it so much.
You guys take care. Have a good night. God bless.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they and their lifetime